I got one of my dream guitars, but unfortunately, something's got to go. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Guitar Gear Trader channel. I'm Steve. Thanks for being with me today. If you wouldn't mind hitting subscribe and clicking that bell, or clicking subscribe and hitting that bell, whatever you have to do to follow me and give me some push into that algorithm, I'd really appreciate it. If you like the content, you like my stories, you like my channel, it would really help me out if you hit subscribe, hit the bell so that you get all the notifications. Leave a comment down in the comment section. That really helps the algorithm push me out to people and get the channel out, so I'd appreciate that. So today, I want to talk to you about getting a guitar that was, I guess it was, on my bucket list. And it's no longer on my bucket list because it's right here in my lap. And this is a R9. For those of you who don't know what an R9 is, an R9 is a reissue. That's what the R stands for. It's a reissue of a 1959 Les Paul. So essentially, it's a custom shop Les Paul that is made to the specs of the 1959 bursts that are so famous and so sought after today. Now, most people in the world are not going to be able to afford a real 1959 burst. And what a lot of people say is that these reissues, these R9s, get as close as they possibly can to recreating those 1959 actual bursts. And some people even say they seem better. A lot of world famous musicians that actually own 1959 Les Pauls, original bursts, they don't like to take them out because they're so expensive. They might have paid $200,000-$300,000 for those guitars, and they don't want to take the risk of breaking them or getting them stolen when they tour. So they'll buy these reissues. They'll buy, R9s or R8s or R7s. And what all those numbers mean, basically, an R7 is a reissue of a 1957 Les Paul. It's a gold top. I have one of those as well, and I love that guitar. An R8 would be a reissue of a 1958 Les Paul. An R9, like this one, is a reissue of a 1959, and an R0 would be a reissue of a 1960 Les Paul reissue. I want to talk to you about the deal I got on this guitar and what has to kind of go as a result of me getting this. So let's talk about the deal I got on this guitar. Where did I get this guitar? How did I find it? So I've been looking on Facebook Marketplace for R9s for a long time. For probably the better part of 8 months, I've been looking for R9s. And these are very expensive guitars. And rightly so. If you were to buy this new at Musician's Friend or Sweetwater or Guitar Center, it's going to run you $67.99, $6,799. That's really expensive for a guitar. Now, I have a Sweetwater credit card, and I have like a $10,000 limit on that thing. And I like to, once a year, if I can pay it off, I like to buy a guitar maybe once a year on that card. And I've already done that for this year. My second favorite place to buy new stuff, right? I like to buy old stuff. If you watch a channel, I'm more, most of my things are more geared towards older vintage guitars these days. But R9s are supposed to be like, head and shoulders above the other Les Pauls that you can buy, the standards, the classics. Those guitars are great, and I've owned a bunch of standards. And a lot like my Firebird, if you watch my Firebird videos, I can link those down in the description. I love Firebirds, but I have a real hard time connecting with a lot of Firebirds. I've owned and sold a lot more Firebirds than I have. I have 3 Firebirds right now, but I've probably had 10 that I've sold because I just didn't connect with them. And the same thing goes for a lot of the Les Paul standards that I've had in the past. Beautiful guitars, they play really well, but you know, it's not just how it's made or the pickups that are in it. It's also about how the player plays the guitar. And, you know, depending on my attack, depending on how I, you know, hold my pick, depending on where I hit the strings in relationship to the pickups and the bridge and everything else, a lot of guitars, you know, and me don't necessarily mix. And what I did notice was that when I got my R7, my gold top reissue of the 57, it was perfect. That was like the first time I really connected with a Les Paul. I've connected in the past with customs, Les Paul customs, but the thing is with customs, you can get such good value out of those as a trade. So even though I've connected with Les Paul customs in the past, I've tended to use them as trade bait because everybody wants those. And to be really honest, I haven't had a Les Paul custom that I really didn't like. There was one I didn't like, but it wasn't necessarily because of the way it played or anything. It was because it had a smoky smell that I just couldn't take. It was bothering me. And that was like a 1980s Les Paul custom that I really liked it and had a really cool look to it, but it smelled so bad I couldn't deal with it. Every time I picked it up, it kind of gave me a headache. So I wanted an R9, and so I went on to the Gibson Demo Shop on Reverb. And if you know the channel, you know I've gone to that. I talk about that shop all the time. And they had maybe 4 or 5 of these in different colors. This one is called Sunrise T-Burst. It's got the cherry back. I don't know if you can see it. There it is. Look at that flame. Like it didn't have that flame in the pictures on the website on the Reverb shop, but it's got a really cool flame to it. And I was really surprised at how good the flame was on this top when I got it, because it didn't look like that on the Reverb listing. I don't mind a plain top, right? If this was a plain top, I'd be more than happy with it. But the fact that it's so flamey in person, it just brought this thing up, you know, 5 notches for me. So the demo shop, there are tiny imperfections with the guitar, and I don't know where they are. I can't find any of them. I know it comes with a piece of paper that tells me where things are, and the only thing that I can see is like there's little tarnish marks. You can't really see it in the camera, but the hardware is tarnished a little bit, which I'm fine with because it makes it look a little bit aged. It's not a Murphy Lab, and from what I gather, this color is only sold in Murphy Lab specs, so it's like an extra $400 or $500. So I think this color, if you were to buy it from Sweetwater, would have to be Murphy Lab aged, and it would be $7,100 instead of $67.99. But this is not aged or Murphy aged or anything like that. I like that it's not aged or anything or has any, you know, fake age marks on it or wear marks on it. I like it the way it is. I can put my own wear on it. But the hardware looks a little tarnished. But besides that, I can't find anything wrong with it. And it says demo. It's stamped demo on the back. Ooh. You can't really see that either, but it's there. It's in the middle somewhere. You can't really see it. But they were selling this for $5,000, $4,099. It went on sale from that. It was $49.99 because it was a demo, right? And it went on sale after that because it sat for a long time on the website. Now, for a long time, that could be a month, right, on that website, on the Reverb shop. And they brought it down to, I think, $4,500. I shot them an offer of $3,800. They came back with an offer of $4,150, and I countered them with an offer of $4,000, and they accepted. And that's amazing. And now you might be saying to yourself, "Wow, you spent $4,000 on a guitar. That's ridiculous." You're right, but I don't think in all my searches on Facebook Marketplace, used ones have never been less than $4,200, $4,300. This I consider new. I don't consider this used. I know it's stamped demo, but it's never had anyone that's owned it before. It's never been gigged. It's never been played out. It's never been out of the factory of Gibson. When you buy this from the Gibson Demo Shop, they set it up for you at the warehouse in Nashville, and it's set up. It plays right out of the case. It's set up the way it's supposed to be set up. It's not like, you know, you can get one from Sweetwater or get one from, you know, Guitar Center and the setup's all wonky. This is set up right from the factory. And I don't think I was ever going to get a new one for $4,000. You can't even get a Les Paul Custom for $4,000 new from a, you know, one of the big box stores. Those things are going for $5,000 and over. So to get a 59 reissue for $4,000, even though it might sound crazy, it is a very good deal. So trust me on that one. This does sound and feel very different from my R7. The neck is not nearly as thick. The neck on my R7 is like a baseball bat, really, really thick, chunky neck, which I really like. And this thing has a lot more growl than the R7. The R7 is much more bassier when you have it on the bridge pickup. Your distorted sounds sound a little bit more thick, where this is really more cutting and more in your face and more dirty. So they sound like two completely different guitars, even though they are both reissue Les Paul, 50s Les Pauls, right? So let's plug it in and take a quick listen to it. It just sustains for days. It just keeps going and going and going. Now I'm going through a old Zoom G7 multi-effects pedal, and I have it on Rectify, which would be like a Mesa Boogie model, I guess. Now I prefer tube stuff over these modelers and digital things, but you know, it's 11 o'clock at night and I have a sleeping family, so this is gonna have to do. Clean channel. Let's see if we can put it on some clean sounds here for you. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's got that real crunchy tones to it. Kind of makes you just want to play Zeppelin on it and stuff. Speaking of Zeppelin, see that movie, Becoming Zeppelin's really good. So at the beginning of the show, I had said that, because I got that guitar, my dream guitar, that something had to go. Now, this guitar is going to go, but it doesn't necessarily need to go, right? So let me explain. So this is my only PRS that I own, and it's one of the best PRSs I've ever owned. This is a 2009 Ted McCarty single cut 10 top. Many moons ago, let me share this with you, I owned this 1980 Les Paul Pro Deluxe. I got this guitar from a guy who lived in Chattanooga, and I met him halfway to Nashville, and I gave him what I think was a great price on this guitar. I gave him $2,000 for this guitar. By today's standards, you could probably try to sell this guitar for anywhere between $35,000 and $4,000. So the fact that he wanted only $2,000 to me was a great deal. I brought him cash money right on the spot. I liked it, but I didn't buy it because I needed a Les Paul with P90s in it. I didn't buy it because it was vintage or anything like that. I bought it because I thought I could get a lot of value out of it. It wasn't necessarily my thing. I played it. It was cool. It was a nice guitar, but it had a cool vibe, but P90s and a Les Paul for me just doesn't go together. If I'm playing a Les Paul, I want to have humbuckers in it. I like P90s. I have P90s in a Firebird that I own, but the P90s in the Les Paul just weren't my thing. But the guitar was in great shape. It came with the original chainsaw case, and for $2,000, I thought, wow, that's a great deal. I got to buy this before someone else snatches it up. It was really cool. Here's some more pictures of the headstock. The serial number was 1980. Some other pictures. You can see the back of the neck was sanded down a little bit. That was a studio session player's guitar, and he really, really liked it. So I brought that home, and I was like, well, I can probably get something really cool out of it. And I ended up trading for this. Now this guitar, like I said before, this is a limited edition, and they don't make it anymore. It's a 2009 PRS Ted McCarty single cut. Kind of looks like a Les Paul. All right, looks very similar to a Les Paul. Has similar control setup. Has 5708 pickups, and this was made to rival the R9s. This was made to rival the 59 reissue Les Pauls. And I have to tell you, this guitar is amazing. This is an amazing, amazing guitar. I love this thing. It sounds killer. It has a fat neck, kind of like my R7. I wish that was a little different, but it has the same kind of sound as the R7. It's got that thick distortion sound, which is really nice. And it's a breeze to play. I'm having a little trouble getting used to the knob locations, because the knobs are in weird spots. Usually I want to go to this one to do the volume, but this is the volume. So it takes me a little getting used to, but this guitar is absolutely amazing. Problem is, I'm a little bit of a nut, and they kind of just look a little too similar. And I'm a little weird like that. And even though I could sit here and say I can have two amazing guitars, I rather have something a little bit different in my PRS, so that it's not almost exactly like this R9, because they're both amazing playing guitars, but I kind of want something a little different. So I put this up on Facebook this morning, and I also put it up on Craigslist, and I've gotten a couple offers on it so far. It's only been a couple hours. I've gotten some offers on it because it's an amazing guitar. And I put it up for $3,000. And I figured if I can get it for $3,000, I've almost paid off the R9. And then I don't even have to get anything else. If someone's willing to give me cash for it, I'll just pay off the R9 and I don't need anything else. But I really do want something. I am, you know, a collector, so I do want a PRS in the collection. I don't want to not have a PRS. And if I do get a PRS, I want it to be a nice one. And I'm really partial to PRSs that are charcoal gray or blue. Now, I don't like blue guitars except for PRSs. So I'm scrolling through Facebook Marketplace, seeing if I can find any PRSs, and I'm emailing people about this. Hey, do you want to trade for this? You want to trade for that? You want to trade for this? One guy blocked me. He got real mad at me. I don't know why, but he got so mad at me. He had a custom 24 up there, and he wanted like, you know, $2,500 for it. And I was like, hey, I got you know, this rare Ted McCarty model from 2009. It has this cool Santana headstock with this flame maple veneer on it. Looks really sweet. It plays awesome. And he goes, oh, well, I'll need $1,000 on top of it. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this guitar is probably worth more than yours already. How can I give you more on top of it? And he got real mad at that. He got insulted. And he blocked me. So I can't even buy his stuff if I wanted to. I didn't mean to insult him. If you're listening, I'm sorry I insulted you, but you got to grow up a little bit. But anyway, so I see a listing for this. It's a 2012 408 Rosewood. And I'm like, ooh, that looks interesting. What's a 408? Now I know custom 22s, I know custom 24s, I know the 245 single cuts. I've played all those before. I've never played a 408 Rosewood. It's called a Rosewood because the neck is completely rosewood. The whole thing is rosewood. The fretboard, the neck itself, it's all rosewood, and it's not it doesn't have like a finish on it. It doesn't have like a clear coat on it. And the numbers on the back, so I was a little skeptical of this. The numbers on the back of this particular model are stamped in kind of like a Gibson would be stamped in. They're not handwritten with like the marker like you would normally see on a PRS. Okay, normally you would see if I can get it here for you. You would see the numbers like handwritten like with a paint marker. But on this model, they are stamped in. And I was like, oh, that looks like a fake. It looks like a fraud. So I go online, I do some research, as you should always do. And I found out that on these rosewood necks, they don't handwrite them with a paint pen because there's no clear coat over it. And it'll wipe off or it'll diminish over time, so they stamp it in. So it's a legit PRS guitar. What's the 408 stand for? So the 408 stands for, the 4 is for the 4 coils, right? So you see that it looks like 2 humbuckers, but you can split them into single coils. So technically you have 4 separate coils. And I don't know if you can see, yeah, I can enlarge it here. On the picture on the left, there are 2 toggle switches, and you can see it over here too. So it's a 3-way blade switch with 2 toggle switches. Those toggle switches are going to be coil splitters. So one toggle switch will split the neck, one toggle switch will split the bridge. So if you think about all the different combinations you can have with the blade switch selector and the coil splitting, you can get 8 different sounds, right? You can have the bridge by itself in humbucker. You can have the bridge by itself single coil. You can have the neck by itself humbucker. You can have the neck by itself single coil. You can have both pickups humbucker. You can have both pickups single coil, or you can have the bridge single coil and the neck humbucker, or the neck single coil and the bridge humbucker. So you got 8 different combinations going on that you can possibly get out of this. So therefore, hence the name, the 408. I've done a lot of research on this guitar, and from what I understand, they're very underrated. They're a very underrated model. It's going to give me lots of tonal variety if I wanted to bring this guitar out with a band, in a band situation. If I need guitars to sound a little bit thinner like a Strat, I can switch those pickups to single coil. If I need them to sound fat and distorted, I can switch it to the full humbucker mode. So it's not, it's going to cut out the need maybe for 2 guitars unless I have a different tuning. So I call up the guy, or I email the guy and say, hey, would you mind, trading? Because he wanted, I think he wanted $3,400 for this guitar, and I have mine listed for $3,000. and he's actually really familiar with this guitar. He has one already in a different color, in a different style. And he's like, you know, you're the first person that I'm not insulted by the trade offer. And he's like, I love those guitars because those guitars are amazing. And everyone I offer it to that knows these guitars knows how great these things are. So he was very, very willing to make the trade. He's like, I don't know if I can do a straight trade though. And I was like, well, I went on Reverb and I typed in his exact guitar, and the only one that was coming up, there was only one exact one like his with the stop. His was the stop tail, and the rosewood neck, and they were asking $3,000 for it. So I said, listen, here, the only one listed on Reverb is exactly the same price as what I'm asking for mine. I was like, I paid $3,500 for mine. You know, I had to tell a little white lie there. I only paid $2,000 for that Les Paul, which I traded for this. So technically, this only cost me $2,000. So I was like, I bought it for $3,500. I know I'm not going to get what I paid for it, so I think $35 is fair. I was like, we are really close on a straight trade. So he goes, yeah, you're right. I'll make that trade with you. So he's in Atlanta, and I'm in Nashville. We're going to meet halfway in Chattanooga, and I'm going to get this PRS. And we're going to meet up on Monday. So by the time when this video airs, this video is going to air on a Saturday. By that next Monday, that following Monday, I think it's President's Day, I should have that blue rosewood necked PRS 408, and I will give you an update. So thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate it. If you think I got a good deal, put it down in the comments below. If you think I got a crappy deal, put it down in the comments below. I appreciate it. Do me a favor, hit subscribe, hit the bell. Follow me on Instagram as well, at Guitar Gear Trader on Instagram and on Facebook. Say hello to me. I got a couple of people who are pretty loyal followers so far, and I want to thank Al and Jeff and Ricky for following me and watching the show every week. I really appreciate it. And Andrew, Dr. Cantor, if you're out there watching, I appreciate you too. And check out my other videos, and do me a favor and hit subscribe and give me a follow. I really appreciate it. So thanks everybody. Have a good night.